Hello everyone, my name is John, and today I'm going to talk about a renewal project where we migrated all the stickers and emoji sales pages from native to web. Now, before I start the presentation, I'd like to tell you that I'm presenting in both English and Japanese, so please feel free to check out the Japanese version if you want to. Now, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is John Edvard Reiten. I'm 32 and I come from Norway. I visited Japan around 8 years ago. And as the Viking that I am, I stole a Japanese woman and brought her back home to Norway, to my hometown. I come from a small city with less than 3,000 people. It's quite different from where I live now, which is Fukuoka in Japan. And Fukuoka has around the same number of people as the whole of Norway. But Fukuoka is a lot more compact, and it's quite different from what I'm used to. Now, despite this difference, I've gotten used to living in Fukuoka, and I really like it here. Now, I came back to Japan last year and I joined UIT in Line Fukuoka just before the COVID crisis started to get crazy. And I was working in the office the first couple of months, but I quickly started to adapt to working from home. I have a wife and a 4-year-old son, so it can be challenging to find a good work-life balance. I'm sure you're all familiar with this in one way or another. Now, for today's topic, I will talk about renewing Sticker Shop. We converted all the emoji and sticker pages from native to web. The sticker and the emoji sales pages haven't changed much in the last 10 years, and we thought it was about time to introduce some fresh changes. We tried to migrate some listing pages from native to web earlier, and that was a success, so this was a good opportunity to start doing the same with all the sales pages too. I'm going to talk about some challenges that comes with web that's difficult to do on web compared to native. And I'll also talk about making strategic choices and a closing statement at the end. And I'll hope that you'll be able to take our experience into account when you're planning on starting a new project or migrating an existing one. So if you stay with me during this presentation, I'm sure that you'll learn something that we wished we knew earlier and can be a great help to your own projects. Here's today's agenda. I will start by introducing Sticker Shop. What is it? What has changed? Why did we migrate? What was the motivation behind it? And what do we gain by converting everything from native to web? What options do we have when we migrate a native page to web? I'm also going to talk about the challenges we faced and how to overcome them. And I'll talk a little bit about making strategic choices. Okay, so what is Sticker Shop? I think most of you have sent a sticker or a stamp, if you will, to your friends on Line Messenger. So when you click on the smiley face inside the Line application, you open Sticker Shop. And there you can find cute animation emojis, sound stickers, animation stickers, and so on. There's a lot to choose from. And Sticker Shop has been around for many years and has always been a web application. But we used to open native pages before the migration, and now everything has become web-based. So when do you think this change happened? It's quite recently, actually. It happened in the end of August this year. I don't know if you have noticed, but I will show you the difference. So this native page looked like this one. This is a stamp page. And I have to tell you that when I started working in Line, I had to create my own sticker set. So this is a sticker set of my son, myself, and my wife. Please use it. And the next one is the same page, but implemented on web. The changes are subtle. It's mostly design changes, but the process behind this conversion has been complex, and I'll tell you more about that later. So here are both pages next to each other to better see the difference. We can easily see that the design has changed. About motivation. It took about 1 year since we started the project, and we had the first release ready. So why do we bother to do this migration in the first place? There are several reasons, but the most important ones being maintenance and speed. Okay, first, maintenance. Converting all the pages from native to web, we're able to unify functionality across Android and iOS. And instead of 2 code bases, we now have 1 to unify the behavior across the devices. So when we develop a new feature, it will be added to both operating systems at the same time. The same goes for design changes. And also, if a bug was able to sneak in one of the native clients, it will stay there on that line version forever. On web, however, we're able to fix the bug right away, and it will be applied to all users. The code, or bug, so to speak, is no longer written in stone. The second reason is speed. We're able to release changes a lot more quicker. We can create new services and new features to meet the needs of our users. One code base also means that we're able to reduce the time for communication between departments. We can reduce development time. We spend less time testing new functionality and new design. And designers, they can be really picky about the smallest pixel change, and even a small change in design can take time. Now, I'm not saying that web is better than native, but for the reasons I've just mentioned are the most important reasons for switching to web in our case. Okay, there's one thing I'd like to clarify. I say that we migrated from native to web, but we still open Sticker Shop from the native application. So how does this make Sticker Shop a web page? The thing is, the native page opens Sticker Shop in something called a web view. A web view is just like a browser. And because of that, we have an additional merit. We can focus on consistent browser versions. Usually this is a con when you have regular web development, because you have to support browsers such as Firefox and Microsoft Edge and many others. In modern web development, we have a lot of different choices when it comes to choosing the best JavaScript framework. Now, these frameworks can help us create web applications a lot more faster and a lot more robust. I only mentioned a few of them, but be sure that there are a lot more to choose from. So should we choose Flutter, Angular, React, Vue? It's difficult to find the best suited framework for your application. And we went with React. We chose React because Sticker Shop was already a React application, so it made sense to continue using it. But the choice of framework often boils down to what your team is used to and what kind of project you are working on. Okay, I've gone through some of the merits with the migration, but there's been quite a few challenges too. Some challenges are almost impossible to overcome, at least in a timely manner. We thus have to make changes in the plans, and some challenges are difficult to predict before it's too late, and it can be more costly to change the plans or specifications, and we have to find a solution that works as good as it can. The most apparent challenge is probably how to work with the Android hardware back button. In some cases, it's difficult or even impossible to have consistent navigation flow when you don't have full control over the hardware back button. And iOS, they don't have this button, so it's more easy to create custom navigation schemes there. But since you have to support both operating systems, it can be a little bit more tricky to get this to work. One way to tackle the problem is to use something called a pop state event. This event will trigger after a new location has loaded and can help you create your custom navigation scheme. Another thing is that we don't have full control over the device's keyboard. We can use an HTML input element to open and close the keyboard, but that's about it. There's also a restriction that we're not allowed to open the software keyboard unless the user has interacted with the page. So the user has to scroll or click on the device before we're allowed to open the keyboard programmatically. And sometimes position of elements can change too. So if you have a fixed or sticky position elements, they can act like static elements when the keyboard is open. Let's have a look at a video to show you what I mean. Here, the title bar is stuck to the top and the footer is fixed to the bottom. When we click the keyboard, the input field, the keyboard opens, and the footer and title bar position changes. They aren't glued to the top and bottom anymore. Now, finding a good solution to solve this on iOS is more complicated than it sounds. You could try to use absolute position elements, and then you can listen for changes to the window inner heights. And if there's a change, you can confidently assume that the keyboard is open. You'll also learn how tall the keyboard is, and you can rearrange the elements on your page accordingly. We are also not able to use share across application features on web pages, not entirely at least. It exists as share API for web, but the support is quite limited. It will only work on Chrome for Android and Safari, and there's no support for WebView on Android yet. So we dealt with this problem by having a copy link button. And when you click this button, you copy a link to the clipboard, and from there you can send the link to your friends. Another thing is swipe to go back. There's no swipe to go back feature that you get for free on web pages, so you have to find a solution yourself. And there's also no default animation when you move across pages. On native page transitions, you can get a slide animation, and it's possible to see the previous page and the next page at the same time. So let's have a look at the video. We can see both pages simultaneously when we go from the settings page to the general page. And this is something that's difficult to do on the web. So I have a screenshot where you can see both pages at the same time, the settings page and the general page. And this is something that you usually get for free when you are doing native application developments. And now to a hurdle. Late during the migration process, we came to know that web pages, they don't know if a user's device is muted or not. This is called manner mode in Japanese. But why do you think this is a problem? It's because we have stickers with sound. When you open a sound sticker, you immediately hear sound. But when in silent mode, you don't really want to hear anything. Maybe you're sitting on a bus or on the train while looking at stickers, and it would be really embarrassing if the phone suddenly started to make sounds. So this required us to change some plans on how to preview stickers with sound. Now you're probably thinking that there's only challenges with web. But remember, there are frameworks out there that can help you overcome these challenges. Maybe React Native or Flutter can help you. And if you're starting more or less fresh, then these type of frameworks may be worth some consideration. And it can also be a good idea to try to fix specific problems in the beginning, because changing tools and frameworks later is more difficult than in the beginning. We also had some more general challenges that I think can be applied to any other project as well, not only web. So when you do a migration from an existing system to another, it's difficult to have complete overview of all the different connections or entry points. So all roads lead to Rome, but some might be more difficult to find than others. So how do we make sure we don't miss any? Now, this requires rigorous testing, communication between departments, and researching existing documentation of your system. Now, this can take time, and I think teamwork is really important to make sure that you don't miss anything. And keep in mind that it's important not to remove anything, because that can break backward compatibility. For instance, if you remove attributes from an API, then other applications using that API might break. And the same goes for URLs. When you change URLs, then some other systems, they may not come to your application anymore. It's okay to add like new query parameters and so on, but don't change something. But if you, for some reason, have to change the URLs, make sure that you have proper redirect rules in place. So how much should we release at a time? It's easy to turn on the switch and have a complete release at once. But is that the best idea? We don't think so. So we went with a gradual release. And when you do this, you can start releasing to a few percentage of users first, and then gradually increase the limits. And this way you can monitor server load, fix issues not discovered during testing, and only a few people will experience the error instead of everyone. It's also possible to more easily compare if the new page is easier to use than the old page. So I've talked about some challenges and some merits with web development. So when you know some of the challenges with building web applications, it can be a lot easier to make strategic choices, especially if you know who your users are. So if you're creating a niche system where you know the users will be using only the latest version of Chrome, Safari, or Firefox, you don't really need to support anything else. You don't have to have backward compatibility, and you can use the latest features of the browsers. So if you want to use CSS Flex or CSS Grid, it can work out just fine. And you can even use the share API that I mentioned earlier. If your users are out in the field and have special equipment and hardware, maybe they're all using iPad to generate reports, then maybe creating a native iOS application is the best choice. It's important to identify the needs and make choices from there, and you'll be able to reduce both time and resources. Now, some of you are probably in a position where you are wondering what to do with your current project. Maybe you're working on migrating a project on your own, or in the process of starting a new project. So I think that our experience can help you make these decisions more easily. And you can start by thinking about the problems that we had, and maybe you are able to adapt more easily and figure it out a lot more sooner. So hopefully the experience have helped shed some light to what to expect. And I'm pretty sure no matter what you choose, it will turn out just fine. I'm cheering for you, and thank you for listening, and have a good day.